What's up, guys? It's Michael here. In this video, we're going to talk about Joe Biden's trillion-dollar infrastructure plan and what are the pros and cons behind it. Before I start this video, please hit the like button down below and a subscribe button. I hope a lot for this channel, and let's get back into it. So, when Biden got elected, he had a couple pitches. It was to basically do re-infrastructure in America because America's infrastructure is poorly needs renovation because all these years, all this new technology, as things, age, everything will begin to wear and tear. And the other one was the second plan, which was tax gain hikes. And I mentioned in a previous video, just click on my channel, you can find that video and what that will do. So if he wants to increase taxes and fund his infrastructure, that's a horrible idea. First, think outside the box. Think outside the box, look at multiple articles and sources besides this video, and look at it. How much money GDP does America has? They have a lot of money, but there's never ever, a reliability, basically spending. They never have accountability for it. They never show you like a report, like how the IRS does its taxes and they check on our reports, right? They never have it. So where does all the money go? They say it goes to here, goes to schooling, funding, roads and stuff. But, when you look at it yourself, when you look at all the streets, look at the city where you live, look at all the cities around your county, has it really improved? Ask yourself that question, because besides the city's job, it's also the state's job and also the federal government's job to help bring money in, because that's where all taxpayers' money to improve the roads and infrastructure. Instead of repairing it, last time America did a major infrastructure plan is back in like the 1900s, right? So they built the roads, they built the freeways, they built the bridges, water canals, water pumping sources. Those are all back, late in the 1900s. And now it's in the 2000s where technology has advanced. It's time to do an improvement. And here's a couple counter arguments to this. Is first, they think that all that money is going to be used, going to be waste. And second one, they think, what's the point of improving infrastructure? It's not going to be allocated in the right place. So why don't we just use it somewhere else? Number three is they say, why even use my infrastructure? Our infrastructure is good enough. Why don't we use it on something else, like schooling and stuff? But here's the counter argument to all of them. It's been 20 years already, and based on civil engineers, the one who actually do the designing for this stuff, they gave us a grade back in about 20 years ago. Our grade was a D. Basically, it's failing. Our infrastructure is failing. Why is infrastructure important? It's because it's to get people from point A to point B. The faster and more efficient we can do it, the better it is for the economy. So think about it. If you're a truck driver, you have to sit in traffic all day because the roads really blow. Or maybe there's like 1 or 2 lanes, for example, going from California to Nevada, like, LA to Las Vegas. At one point when it becomes 2 lanes, or now I believe it's 3 lanes. That's an infrastructure problem. How to move people point A to point B. You look at bridges, you look at transportation, you look at waterways, you look at electricity. Look at California and Texas. When winter snowstorm hit, guess what? The grid went. That is so pathetic. They can't even keep our power on. Like you can point fingers at the left or the right, but at the end, what's the problem? The problem is the electrical grid is getting too old, and it has never sustained a type of hit like that. And obviously, the grid itself needs to be reworked. We have all these new technologies today, but the government doesn't want to put the money to it. So when Biden got elected, he made his new plan. Besides getting with his tax things, but we're going to look at his infrastructure. So his infrastructure, he's looking at mainly, there's multitudes I see from here. So first, he's want to improve the roads, right? First, there's a couple things he could do. If by coincidence, if Biden ever watches this video, besides repairing the roads, look what Tesla's doing. Look at Las Vegas, Nevada. Look what they are doing. They're building underground tunnels for electric cars that go through. So you have multiple ways of transportation. Number 2, if you're going to work on roads when they're building subways. So a horrible example is look at California. When California tried to build the bullet train, they try to compete against the rest of the country and rest of the other world, like Japan, China, right? How are you going to compete against that when you have politicians fighting back and forth? And now it's been like 20 something years, maybe even 50. I don't even count because it's such a waste of money. Inflation happens. When time passes, products and materials become more expensive because thanks to labor, thanks to inflation costs, and thanks to how technology has evolved today. So if that's the case, then technology itself has changed the way how much materials cost. And now the bullet train in California That was supposed to be, moving from people from Northern California to Southern California. And look what happened. It became so expensive, it's not even worth doing it anymore. So instead of, if you're going to have politicians, fight over that, instead of doing it that way, find another way. Improve the roads. What we have existent. Whatever we have existent, take it and make it better. Not just repair it. No patchwork. Like you look at bridges and stuff, you guys only do patchwork. At the end, give a couple of years, it's cracking again. Since you're spending so much money, why don't you do a complete revamp? Look at areas of bridges and roads, then you bring civil engineers in and see what they can do to make it better, make it more efficient. Here's another one. So since you're pushing whatever green energy deal and you look at it, I believe there's two sides of the story. First, you still gonna need oil, you still gonna need gas, okay? Let's face it, green energy cannot be 100% green. If you have days where power grid's in trouble, gas will come cover it for you. That's why I see both sides in Trump's proposition, and I see another side in Biden's. So we gotta do it that way. You gotta go green energy, right? If you're gonna use like solar, for example, or wind, you have basically the southwest of the United States to do that type of deal because you got the most sunlight, got high intensity waves and heat, you got plenty of land. So in place you can't do it, it makes sense. You gotta run oil and gas, right? Like the northern parts of the United States. So if you're gonna do solar, for example, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, California, you got a lot of land, you got places you can do it that people are not developing. You can build power plants for that. If you want to make energy more sustainable and cheaper, hopefully, because, like I think I mentioned this in a previous video, California wants to transition to, electric cars and ban all gasoline cars, but now they're crying like a little why. And what do? They increase prices. They said, we don't have enough money, so increase prices. So if you want us to go green and for us to save money and Americans to make more money, then you can't be increasing our taxes. But back to the point of infrastructure. So California and the western states have a water problem because we have too many people. There's a reason why. You can blame climate change all you want. The fact is, there's a lot of people here and it's going bigger and bigger and bigger. Even people are leaving, you still got people coming in, okay? It's too much people. So if you're gonna work on infrastructure for the west side, change how our water system, our power grid works, roads, and as for safety, there's so much you can do because it'll be based on the state. You can pour money in, but the money doesn't get allocated incorrectly. What's the point, right? If you want to make America more efficient and have people transporting goods from point A to point B as cheap as possible, those three main things is basically whatever their standard of living. So you got electricity, that's one of them. Roads is number two. Those two are basically on line of each other because if you have bigger roads, more efficient roads, and you have other sectors, like for example, Tesla, private sector, building like subways or underground tunnels, autonomous driving, where it helped a lot of people from moving cargo from point A to point B, and also farming too. If you're gonna put infrastructure in public transportation, because public transportation, there's so much you can do. It's America. Since it's so big, everyone's used to driving. It's not like Japan, not like China, not like certain parts of Europe where they rely on public transportation. Public transportation here, let's face it, it's not as big of a factor compared to driving, unless you're assuming cities like New York. Okay, that's like a few exceptions, okay? That's like one of them. But in public transportation, most people in America drive cars. If you want people in America to be more efficient, then simply improve infrastructure for roads. So you have more autonomous driving, you have less people getting in accidents, you have more people moving faster from point A to point B. For example, if you really want to make people work really efficient, look at Tesla, how they try to do the Hyperloop. If you guys didn't have all these politicians, slapping him left and right, then you can have, people moving from like California all the way to Nevada, back and forth within a span of a day, maybe in like 1 to 2 hours, move from like, let's say LA to Las Vegas. If you can do that, I can guarantee you, if you pull something off like that, transportation is a #1 factor in growing an economy. And it'll be even more insane if you can move people from like Texas to Florida into California, into like New York, all the major hubs, have a transportation system, move them from point A, point B, point C, point D within 1 day, which is, for example, Tesla's Hyperloop. They're golden. We're going to outperform every other country in the world. It's because if someone from like New York, say they want to work for a company in Texas, but they don't have the means of their money to move there, and they have to, sustain their life over there. But if you have a transportation to move them from there, point A to point B, then next thing you know, you have people going job opportunities. For example, look at Europe. The European Union, when they all unionize together, you have people working for different parts of the country because they have a lot less restriction. So infrastructure is a key for allowing that. And people complain about it uses so much money. You idiots. If the money is not going to be used, then it's going to be used somewhere else, okay? Face it. If money's not used, whatever it's meant to be, it's going to be somewhere else, and it's going to be most likely useless, because based on the fact right now, all the money's being used right now, it's basically being wasted. So why not put in infrastructure where you can see it as a long-term investment? Think of this infrastructure as long-term investment. The more improvements you do, the more efficient it is, and you get gains back. The real question is, are you going to do it? Is there going to be accountability? And at the end, can you actually pull it off? Because right now, based on how I see it, if you do pull it off, this is going to be, game changing. For example, like Tesla. Everyone thought ICE cars going to be a thing. All of a sudden, electric car pops up and just whoop everyone's butts. If, Biden, if he can pull this off, I'm going to be really surprised. And shoot America straight up again for infrastructure. Because a lot of people want to work in different places. We just don't have the technology that's currently implemented. We do have this technology, but it's not implemented to the point where we can actually use it on a daily basis. That's all I gotta say for this video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.